Hi everyone and welcome to another Art Student Co. virtual tasting with Rob Stewart and Joe Stewart.
Joe and Rob Stewart.
Tonight we're taking a look at our sparkling wines, which are a couple of really awesome wines, the Bubbly and the Rosé d'Or. Both are super tasty, big fan favorites. And Dad, sparkling wine is really your passion wine, right?
Right. When I was 17 years old, I was presented with 61 Bollinger. And this is after drinking Boone's Farm and cheap beer. And I was totally blown away. And ever since then, I've been trying to make 61 Bollinger. I never will. That's what Rosé d'Or is all about.
Very cool. So let's go ahead and taste the Bubbly first here.
Great. So Bubbly is roughly half Chardonnay and half Pinot Blanc. It's about 2 years in the bottle, in tirage, and it's all about being bright and lively and festive and edgy, good acid, no sugar in the dosage, so it's just bright and refreshing is what it's all about.
Yeah,
Lemon, lime, citrusy.
Right, totally. It's just bright and it's almost like it's like drinking a daisy.
Well put, Joe Stewart.
Thank you. So Bubbly, aptly named.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people ask, when not familiar with the science behind it or anything, but where does the carbonation come from? Why is sparkling wine sparkling? How do you take normal wine and make it this way?
Sparkling wine is just there's sugar in a wine, and you have yeast in a wine, and it ferments that sugar into roughly half alcohol and half carbon dioxide. And in a sparkling wine bottle, you trap that carbon dioxide, and that's how you end up with bubbles.
All right, let's move over to the Rosé d'Or. And this is a wine we're all really proud of. Very delicious and really one of my dad's all-time best.
Slancha. Rich, complex, a lot going on in this wine. This is roughly 2/3 Pinot Noir and 1/3 Chardonnay, and it has wine from all the way back to 1999 through 2013. Then it was aged another 5 years. So it's a very long process, lots of complexity, old neutral French oak, but you can taste the oak in the wine. It's not oaky, but you can taste the effect of the oak. It's also very fruity, but not tutti fruity. It's rich.
And that year-over-year blend, that's what you mean when we call something non-vintage, right?
Correct. Non-vintage means more than one vintage in the wine. And some people make a virtue out of making 1 year of grapes and aging it a certain period of time. I happen to like the style of the house. So any great champagne house, they make a non-vintage wine, and they also make vintage wines. I love the style of the house, and that's what these wines are about.
Yeah. And you also, while we're on the topic of aging, I think sparkling wine is one of those wines that people don't really know how long they're supposed to let age, if they are at all. I think a lot of people think it's a wine that, you want to get for an upcoming special occasion. A lot of people aren't, because they don't know the science behind it or whatever, you're just a little bit worried about carbonation. If it's sitting in my wine cellar for 5, 10, 15 years, what's going to happen to the state of the wine?
It's all subjective. Some people like aged sparkling wines. Some people don't like aged sparkling wines. As a wine ages, it will get a little more caramelized, if you will. It'll get a little more... the fruit will be less important, and the balance and the complexity will be more important.
So, as you've probably noticed, and you're probably wondering about at home, is why we are drinking the Rosé d'Or out of a Pinot Gris glass and a traditional champagne flute. Until recently, you probably would only see wine being drank out of sparkling wine being drank out of a flute, but you prefer, or you've started using the Pinot Gris glass more because it does affect the flavor profile.
Well, again, it's subjective. I prefer a flute because it's more festive. I like to see the bubbles. I like what's going on. The bubbles come out of solution much more quickly in a flute than they do a white wine glass, and that's why the current trend is keep the bubbles in, use a white wine glass. For me, the wine doesn't stay in my glass very long, and I love the festivity of it.
Right. If you're drinking one of these wines, it's sparkling wine. It's a terrific thing to drink as an aperitif, and just something that probably isn't going to stay in your glass very long. But
Not my glass.
if you do want to sip, the Pinot Gris glass probably the way to go. And then these wines are delicious, but not it's not something that maybe you'll drink a whole bottle of, especially if it's just one or two people. So what do people do? What are they supposed to do if you get down to that level of the bottle where you're down to 2 1 glasses? Is it really possible to make it be able to stay alive overnight?
There are all kinds of gizmos that you can put on that will trap the gas, not let it out. I rarely have that circumstance, but one of my favorite tricks I learned in France years ago, I've never proven it scientifically whether it actually works or not, is to take a teaspoon, stick the handle in the spoon, stick the wine in the refrigerator. Keeping the wine cold will keep the carbonation in there. For some reason, the teaspoon in the bottle seems to work. I wouldn't go more than the next day to finish it off.
Well, there you go. That's a fun science experiment for everybody to try while they're still in quarantine here. Take your favorite Our Student Co. sparkling wine, take a silver spoon, let that sit overnight, and have some fun with it. But of course, to get there, you got to drink about at least 2/3 of that bottle, and that's the best part of the experiment.
Correct.
You can find more about all these wines and all of our wines on ourstudentco.com, where, of course, you can order these online as well. Thanks so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed another one of the Our Student Co. virtual tastings.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.